The night Elena Carter agreed to go on the blind date, she already knew it was a mistake. Not because she feared rejection, but because rejection was something she had learned to live with a long time ago. Rain slid down the cracked window of her tiny apartment as she stood in front of a mirror that had survived 3 different moves and 1 eviction notice. The reflection staring back at her looked tired, soft brown eyes shadowed by sleepless nights, a simple thrift store dress clinging carefully to her frame, and hands rough from working double shifts at a downtown cafe. Her phone buzzed again. "Lily, don't embarrass me tonight, okay? This guy is important." Elena swallowed quietly. Lily, her identical twin sister, had always been the brighter star. Confident, beautiful, popular. While Elena worked late shifts and paid bills, Lily lived in luxury apartments and posted smiling photos beside expensive cars she never owned. Elena didn't know why her sister suddenly insisted she attend a blind date in her place. But she knew better than to ask too many questions. She needed Lily's help with rent this month. And Lily always made help feel like a transaction. The setup. The restaurant was unlike anywhere Elena had ever been. Crystal chandeliers glowed like captured starlight above marble floors. Soft violin music floated through the air, and guests dressed in designer suits spoke in quiet, confident tones. Elena hesitated at the entrance, clutching her small purse. The hostess looked her up and down, not rudely but with confusion. "Reservation name?" "Elena Carter," she said softly. The hostess's expression changed instantly. "Oh, yes. They're expecting you." Before Elena could ask, she was guided toward a private dining hall separated by towering black doors. As they opened, conversation inside suddenly slowed. Dozens of elegantly dressed guests turned toward her. And then, laughter. Low at first, then spreading. Whispers followed like sharp needles. "That's her? She actually came? Lily really did it?" Elena's stomach tightened. Something was wrong. At the center table sat 3 wealthy young men, clearly waiting for entertainment rather than company. One of them smirked openly. "You must be the mystery date," he said loudly. "Didn't expect this." More laughter. Elena's cheeks burned. She realized then, slowly, painfully, that this wasn't a blind date. It was a joke. Her sister had sent her here to be humiliated. The public humiliation. A woman lifted her phone, secretly recording. Someone whispered, "This is going viral tonight." Elena's chest tightened as memories flooded back. School hallways, comparisons, always being the lesser twin. She turned to leave. But a waiter accidentally bumped her arm, spilling red wine across the tablecloth. Gasps echoed dramatically. "Oh wow," the man laughed. "She's ruining the place already." "I think Lily said her sister works at a cafe," another added. "Guess elegance isn't teachable." The words weren't loud, but they were meant to hurt. Elena bowed her head quickly, grabbing napkins. "I'm so sorry," she whispered. And despite everything, despite the humiliation, she began cleaning the mess herself. Because that's what she always did. Fixed problems quietly. Made herself smaller. Invisible. The moment everything changed. The restaurant doors opened again. This time, silence followed. Not curiosity. Not amusement. Fear. A cold ripple moved across the room as conversations died instantly. Even the musicians stopped playing. Elena didn't look up at first, but she felt it. A presence. Heavy. Ancient. Powerful enough that the air itself seemed to hold its breath. Slow footsteps echoed against marble. Someone near the entrance whispered shakily, "The king is here." Elena frowned slightly. "King." She finally lifted her gaze. And saw him. Tall. Dark coat falling perfectly over broad shoulders. Eyes like molten gold scanning the room with calm authority. His expression carried no effort, yet every person instinctively stepped aside. Kael Draven. The Vampire King. Though humans rarely saw him, everyone knew the name. The ruler who maintained fragile peace between humans and vampires. The immortal monarch rumored to be merciless toward cruelty and deception. He wasn't supposed to be here. Kings didn't attend social gatherings. Kings certainly didn't visit restaurants filled with careless elites. Yet his gaze moved slowly, deliberately, until it stopped on Elena. Still kneeling. Still trying to clean wine from a table where people mocked her. Their eyes met. And for a brief second, Elena felt something impossible. Not judgment. Not superiority. Recognition. The silence. One of the laughing men stood quickly, nervous now. "Your Majesty, we didn't know you would." Kael raised one finger. The man fell silent instantly. The Vampire King's voice, when he spoke, was calm, but carried an undeniable command. "Why?" he asked quietly. "Is the only person apologizing the one being mocked?" No one answered. Phones lowered. Eyes avoided his. Kael stepped closer, his gaze never leaving Elena. She instinctively stood embarrassed. "I'm sorry," she murmured. "I didn't mean to cause trouble." A faint crease appeared between his brows. "You believe you are the trouble?" The room felt smaller. He turned slowly toward the others. And the temperature seemed to drop. "Explain," he said. No one dared laugh now. A protector appears. The man who had mocked her earlier forced a smile. "It's just harmless fun, Your Majesty." "A misunderstanding." Kael's golden eyes hardened. "Humiliation," he replied softly, "is never harmless." The words landed like a verdict. Elena felt her heart race. Why was he defending her? He didn't know her. She was nobody. Just a poor girl sent as a joke. Yet the most powerful being in the room stood beside her, not as ruler over subjects, but as protector over the vulnerable. Kael removed his gloves slowly. A gesture small but terrifyingly formal. "In my kingdom," he said, voice calm and deadly quiet, "respect is not reserved for the powerful." His gaze returned to Elena. "It begins with how we treat those who cannot defend themselves." For the first time that night, Elena felt something unfamiliar. Safety. And she had no idea that this moment, this single act of kindness witnessed by an immortal king, would soon reveal a secret tying her fate to vampire royalty itself. Because Kael Draven had not entered the restaurant by coincidence. He had come searching for someone. And somehow, he believed that someone was her. The silence inside the restaurant did not fade after the vampire king spoke. It deepened. Every person in the room stood frozen, as if even breathing too loudly might draw his attention. The laughter that once filled the hall now felt distant and shameful, swallowed by the weight of Kael Draven's presence. Elena wished she could disappear. She had never liked attention, and now the most powerful being in existence was looking directly at her. His golden eyes studied her carefully, not with curiosity alone, but with something far more unsettling. Recognition. "You may leave," Kael said calmly to the surrounding guests. No one argued. Chairs scraped softly against marble floors as people hurried away, eager to escape the king's quiet judgment. Within moments, the grand dining hall emptied, leaving only staff members standing nervously along the walls. Elena clutched her purse tighter. "I really didn't mean to cause trouble," she said again, her voice barely above a whisper. Kael tilted his head slightly as if her apology confused him. "You continue apologizing," he said, "for the cruelty of others?" His voice held no anger toward her, only observation. Elena didn't know how to respond. Apologizing had always been easier than defending herself. Before she could speak again, a sharply dressed woman rushed toward them. "Your Majesty," she said urgently, bowing her head. Security confirmed the reservation was made under false pretenses. Elena blinked. False pretenses? Kael's gaze darkened slightly. "Explain." "The booking was placed by a Lily Carter," the woman continued carefully. "Payment traced to an entertainment account known for social media pranks." The word struck Elena harder than the humiliation itself. So it was intentional. Not a misunderstanding. Not a mistake. Her sister had planned everything. A familiar ache spread through her chest. Not anger, just quiet disappointment. Somehow she had still hoped Lily wouldn't go that far. Kael noticed the shift in her expression immediately. "You were unaware," he stated. Elena shook her head slowly. "I thought she needed help," she admitted. She said the man was important and she couldn't attend. A long silence followed. Something cold flickered behind Kael's eyes, not directed at Elena, but at the idea of someone exploiting kindness so casually. "Cruelty disguised as humor," he murmured. "A human tradition I fail to understand." Elena almost laughed at that, though sadness lingered behind it. "It's not all humans," she said softly. That made him pause. Despite everything she had endured tonight, she defended others instead of condemning them. Interesting. Very interesting. The king's unexpected interest. Kael stepped closer, though he moved carefully, as if aware his presence alone could intimidate her. "What is your occupation, Elena Carter?" "I work at Riverside Cafe," she replied. "Morning and evening shifts." "And yet," he said quietly, "you chose to clean a mess created by those insulting you." She hesitated. "I didn't want the staff to get blamed." The answer lingered between them. Kindness without expectation. Sacrifice without recognition. Kael's expression softened almost imperceptibly. For centuries he had ruled vampires and negotiated peace with humanity. He had seen ambition, deception, greed, and fear countless times. But genuine humility? That was rare. And something about her presence stirred an ancient instinct within him, one he had not felt in hundreds of years. Before he could speak again, one of his guards approached swiftly. "Your Majesty," the guard said in a low voice. "We confirmed the signal." Kael's attention sharpened instantly. Elena noticed the subtle shift, the way the air itself seemed to tense. "Signal?" she asked carefully. Kael looked at her for a long moment before answering. "Yes," he said. "The reason I came here tonight." Confusion crossed her face. "I wasn't expecting to meet anyone important," she admitted. He replied. Her heartbeat quickened. "What do you mean?" The king's voice lowered. "4 weeks, my palace has detected a rare energy signature appearing across the city." Elena blinked, unsure she heard correctly. "Energy? A power older than modern vampire bloodlines," Kael continued. "One believed extinct." She shook her head immediately. "That has nothing to do with me." Kael did not argue. Instead, he extended his gloved hand slightly toward her. "May I?" She hesitated, then nodded uncertainly. The moment his fingers brushed her wrist, a pulse of warmth surged through the air. The chandeliers flickered. Glasses trembled on nearby tables. And Kael froze. Golden eyes widening for the first time in centuries. It was unmistakable. Ancient. Alive. And coming directly from her. Elena gasped softly, pulling her hand back. What was that? But Kael did not answer right away. Because memories flooded his mind, forgotten legends whispered among vampire royalty. Stories of a human bloodline blessed by moonlight itself. A lineage capable of healing vampires, or destroying them. A queen foretold not by power, but by compassion. Impossible. And yet standing before him. Danger arrives. Suddenly the restaurant windows shattered inward. Screams echoed as dark figures rushed inside, moving faster than human eyes could follow. Rogue vampires. Their eyes burned crimson, uncontrolled, feral. Kael's expression turned instantly lethal. "Stay behind me," he ordered Elena. Fear gripped her as chaos erupted. Staffs scattered while guards drew weapons, but the attackers moved with desperate aggression. "They're not here for civilians," Kael realized aloud. "They're here for her." Elena's breath caught. "Me?" One rogue lunged forward, snarling, "The moon blood belongs to no king." Kael stepped forward faster than sight, intercepting the attack with terrifying precision. The impact cracked marble beneath his feet. His voice dropped into something ancient and commanding. "You dare," he said coldly, "hunt under my protection?" The rogue hesitated, fear flashing across his face. Because every vampire understood one truth. The king protected only what mattered. And tonight, he had chosen her. Kael turned slightly toward Elena without taking his eyes off the attackers. "You are no longer safe alone," he said. This was never a coincidence. Another attacker moved and Kael's eyes glowed brighter. "I came searching for a legend," he finished quietly. "And I found you." Elena's world tilted as realization slowly dawned. She had arrived expecting humiliation. Instead, she had become the center of a supernatural war she didn't understand. And the vampire king himself now stood between her and the darkness. The chaos in the restaurant didn't last long. Within moments, Kael Draven had dispatched the rogue vampires with a combination of sheer speed and precision so terrifying that even the most confident humans had frozen in awe. Glass shattered, chairs overturned, and in the silence that followed, the only sound was Elena's shaky breathing. Kael turned his golden gaze on her. "Stay close," he instructed, his voice calm but carrying the weight of command that brooked no argument. "I will not repeat this warning." Elena nodded quickly, heart pounding, not from fear alone, but from the undeniable intensity of the man before her. She had seen stories of him, the immortal vampire king feared by both humans and vampires alike. But to see him now in person protecting her, it felt unreal. She was still a girl who spilled wine meant to be laughed at. And yet here he was, guarding her like a lion protecting its cub. Before she could process what had happened, Kael's guards formed a protective circle around them. One of them, a tall vampire with icy blue eyes, offered a curt nod. "His Majesty insists you come with him." "Now." Elena swallowed. I can't just leave. My sister." "Your sister set this in motion," Kael interrupted quietly but firmly. "That is no longer your concern." Something about the way he said it sent a shiver down her spine. There was finality in his tone. No room for argument. And for the first time that night, Elena realized she had no choice but to follow. The journey to the palace. Outside, the rain had stopped, leaving the city streets glistening under the faint glow of street lamps. Cars and pedestrians continued unaware of the supernatural storm that had just erupted within the restaurant. Elena followed silently as Kael moved with supernatural grace, each step purposeful. The streets felt impossibly long, but they reached the outskirts of the city within minutes. A gate appeared where there should have been nothing, a colossal wrought iron structure adorned with symbols she didn't recognize. Golden eyes glimmered in the shadows as Kael extended his hand toward her. "Once inside, no one will harm you," he said. "But you must trust me completely." Elena hesitated. Every instinct told her this was madness. A stranger, no, a king, a vampire, an immortal being, was asking her to trust him. But she had nowhere else to go. No family willing to protect her. No friends she could count on. And yet, there was something about him, something that made it impossible to refuse. She placed her hand in his. His touch was cold, yet it carried a strange warmth beneath the surface, like a promise she couldn't quite understand. The gates opened silently at his approach, and the world beyond seemed to exist in another time. A palace of black stone and silver spires loomed above her, glowing faintly in the moonlight. This was no ordinary place. The air hummed with energy, ancient, powerful, and undeniably alive. The twin sisters' secret. Once inside, Elena was guided to a private chamber where Kael finally allowed her to rest. The walls were lined with books older than any library she had ever seen, and a faint scent of jasmine lingered in the air. "You need to tell me the truth," Kael said suddenly, voice low, almost intimate. "Why did your sister truly send you here?" Elena swallowed, guilt washing over her. "I don't know. I thought she needed someone to help her. She always does things without thinking about consequences. I never imagined this would happen." Kael studied her closely. "Do you know why she targeted you specifically?" Elena shook her head. "Because I'm the weaker twin. The one everyone underestimates. That's always been me." For the first time, Kael's expression softened. Not in a human smile, but in the faintest acknowledgement of understanding. "It is not weakness that makes you special," he said. "It is your resilience. Your courage when no one else notices." Elena felt warmth rise to her cheeks. She had never been called courageous, only clumsy, quiet, unremarkable. And yet here was a being who could crush kingdoms with a gesture, telling her she mattered. The first bonding moment. Night fell, and the palace seemed to pulse with its own heartbeat. Kael led her to a balcony overlooking an obsidian lake that mirrored the stars above. The air was crisp, the city lights below twinkling like distant fireflies. "You are far from home," Kael said quietly. "And yet you do not cry. You do not complain." Elena looked down, fiddling with the hem of her sleeve. "I've learned, sometimes people only remember weakness. So I try not to give them a reason." Kael's gaze softened. "You are stronger than most humans realize. Strong enough to face what is coming." She looked up at him then, meeting those golden eyes. For the first time she felt the stirrings of something dangerous and beautiful. Trust. Not blind trust, but the kind that grows slowly in moments where kindness, protection, and respect intersect. And in that moment she realized, without fully understanding why, that she was not just a girl sent to be humiliated. She was being chosen. Kael did not touch her, yet the air around him seemed to pull her closer. Something whispered in the shadows of the palace. A prophecy, a destiny, a bond that transcended fear and time. "You are here for a reason," he said softly, almost to himself. "And I intend to see it fulfilled." Elena's pulse quickened. She didn't yet know the danger, the secrets, or the battles ahead. But in the quiet darkness of the Vampire King's palace, something undeniable had begun. The slow burn had started. And nothing would ever be the same again. The Vampire King's palace was unlike anything Elena had ever imagined. Vast halls of obsidian stone stretched in every direction, lit by floating lanterns that glimmered like captured stars. The air hummed with a strange energy, ancient and alive. Each step she took echoed faintly, yet the sound seemed absorbed by the shadows themselves, as if the walls were listening. Kael moved beside her with perfect grace, his presence commanding, yet strangely reassuring. He didn't speak much, but Elena felt every word he didn't say. Every glance, every slight shift of posture, communicated more than human conversation ever could. "You feel it, don't you?" he asked quietly, stopping near a balcony overlooking the palace grounds. The night sky stretched endlessly above them, stars twinkling like distant jewels. Elena? She blinked, startled. Feel what? The power within you, Kael said, his golden eyes fixed on hers. It is not dormant. It is waiting. Her heart skipped a beat. Power? I don't understand. I'm just me. Just you? His lips curved into the faintest smirk, not mocking but knowing. Humanity has always underestimated itself. But you are different. Elena looked away, suddenly shy under his intense gaze. She had always felt like the weaker twin, the one overlooked, the one who failed to shine. And yet, something about being here in this moment made her feel seen for the first time in her life. The ancient language. Kael led her to a library, walls lined with books and scrolls older than any human civilization. He motioned to one particularly ancient tome. Read this aloud, he instructed. Elena hesitated, glancing at the strange script. It looked like a swirling mixture of symbols, letters, and shapes she had never seen before. A knot of fear tightened in her chest. I can't, she admitted. You can, Kael said softly but with that same weight of command. Because you already know it. Elena frowned. I don't. Try. Her hands trembled as she touched the page. Words flowed over her tongue effortlessly, strange, melodic, powerful. The moment she spoke, the palace seemed to react. The lanterns glimmered brighter, and the shadows shifted as if leaning in to listen. Kael's eyes widened. So it begins? He murmured, more to himself than to her. Elena, what's happening? She whispered. Her voice carried a mixture of awe and fear. You are not ordinary, Kael replied. And tonight, the world has begun to reveal the truth. The twin sisters' dark secret. As Elena processed her awakening power, Kael's guard brought news that made her stomach twist. Your sister, Kael said grimly, was not merely playing a prank. She has been manipulated by a rival faction. Vampires who seek to destabilize my rule. She believes she is helping but she is unknowingly working for them. Elena's chest tightened. Lily, she would never. Deception is a human specialty, Kael said softly. And the line between loyalty and betrayal is often thinner than one imagines. Elena felt a mix of anger and helplessness. Her sister, always the favored twin, had sent her into humiliation, but now she realized the stakes were far higher. Lily's actions had made Elena a target. Kael placed a hand gently on her shoulder, his golden eyes locking onto hers. You will not face this alone. First, intimate emotional connection. The following night, Elena found herself on the palace balcony again. The moon reflected across the obsidian lake, painting everything in silver and shadows. Kael approached silently, standing behind her, his presence both comforting and overwhelming. Do you trust me? He asked. Elena hesitated. Trust had always been dangerous for her kindness often betrayed. But here with him the fear was different. I think I do, she whispered. You must, he said softly. Because the danger coming is not just for humans. It seeks to destroy everything in its path, including you. Her pulse quickened. Then, I want to help. Even if I don't understand how. Kael studied her for a long moment. Your courage is rare, he said. And your heart, rarer still. The words wrapped around her like a warm cloak, igniting something fragile yet thrilling inside her. For centuries he had seen loyalty, fear, ambition. But not this. Bravery tempered with humility, the willingness to stand even when powerless. In the quiet of that balcony, Elena felt the first stirrings of a bond she couldn't yet name. A connection that transcended fear, time, and the boundaries between human and vampire. A prophecy hints at destiny. Later that night, Kael led Elena to the inner sanctum of the palace, where the oldest vampire elders waited. Their faces were expressionless, but their eyes carried knowledge older than the mountains. One elder stepped forward, voice echoing like distant thunder. The moon blood has awakened. Elena, she whispered, feeling a chill. You carry the blood of prophecy, the elder continued. Only one human born with the ancient gift can heal what is broken among vampires and bind the fragile peace. One heart of pure courage, one destined to rise beside the king. Kael's gaze locked on hers, and for the first time, Elena understood the weight of his presence. Not as a protector alone, but as someone whose destiny intertwined with hers. You are no longer just a girl sent as a joke, Kael said softly. You are the beginning of something greater. And I will not let you face it alone. Her chest swelled with both fear and awe. She had gone from humiliation in a restaurant to standing at the heart of a vampire kingdom, facing a prophecy she barely understood, and yet, she had never felt more alive. The slow burn of their connection deepened, an unspoken promise growing in the silence between them. Trust, protection, and perhaps something more. The palace was quiet, but the calm was a fragile illusion. Elena felt it the moment she stepped into the grand hall. The air was charged, almost vibrating as if the shadows themselves were waiting. She clutched her hands together, trying to steady her nerves, but the sense of impending danger gnawed at her. Kael's presence beside her was a silent anchor. He moved with that same supernatural grace, scanning the corridors, eyes golden and sharp. "They are coming," he said quietly. "Prepare yourself." Elena swallowed. She had seen danger before, yes, thieves in the city, arguments that escalated into violence, but this was something else entirely. Rogue vampires, driven by fury and greed, had infiltrated the city before. Tonight they were targeting her. And the thought of harm reaching her sent a spike of fear straight to her heart. "You will stay close to me," Kael instructed, his voice steady but commanding. "And do not hesitate to act. Courage is not recklessness, it is purpose." A sudden crash echoed through the palace corridors. Dark figures moved faster than the eye could follow, eyes glowing crimson, fangs bared. Elena froze for a split second, but Kael's hand found hers, grounding her. "Now," he commanded. Elena felt an instinct she didn't understand, a surge of warmth in her chest, pulsing outward like a heartbeat made visible. Her voice rose, speaking the ancient words she had only recently begun to master. The symbols on the air shimmered, responding to her command. The rogue vampires screeched as the energy formed a protective barrier around her and Kael, repelling the attackers. Elena's heart pounded as adrenaline coursed through her veins. She wasn't just a human anymore, she was something else. Something powerful. Kael's eyes widened, not in fear but awe. You're stronger than I imagined," he said, his voice low, almost reverent. Elena blushed but didn't stop. She focused, channeling the strange energy surging within her. One by one, the rogue vampires were forced back, crashing into the walls with cries of frustration. It was the first time Elena realized the truth: she wasn't weak. Not in any sense that mattered. After the last of the attackers were driven off, Kael approached Elena, moving with silent precision. He studied her with a mixture of awe and something deeper, unspoken. "You saved them," he said quietly, gesturing to his guards who had been momentarily overwhelmed. "The palace, my people, you saved them." Elena's hands shook, adrenaline still coursing through her. I just did what I could," she said softly. "I didn't know what else to do." Kael's golden gaze softened. "It is not the strength that matters alone, Elena. It is the courage to act when fear would make others cower." For the first time in her life she felt seen, not for her mistakes or her weaknesses but for her bravery. And more than that, she felt a warmth toward him, a connection that went beyond fear or awe. Later, Lily arrived at the palace, escorted by Kael's guards. She was pale, guilt written across her face, realizing the magnitude of her actions. "Elena," she whispered, voice trembling. I didn't know it would go this far. I thought it was just a joke." Elena's eyes filled with a mixture of anger and compassion. "You don't get to just call it a joke, Lily. You put me in danger. You could have killed me." Lily sobbed, falling to her knees. I never wanted that. I was jealous. I thought I was helping myself. But I see now. I was wrong." Kael watched silently from the shadows, letting the sisters' confrontation play out. When he finally spoke, his voice was calm but undeniable. "Karma is swift. Choices have consequences. But redemption is possible, for those willing to face the truth." Elena nodded slowly, understanding. "It's not just about punishment. It's about learning. And moving forward." After the confrontation, Kael led Elena back to the balcony overlooking the obsidian lake. The night was still, almost serene, and for a moment the world felt suspended. "You were magnificent tonight," Kael said, his voice low, almost a whisper, carrying more emotion than words often did. Elena felt her heart flutter. I just tried to do what was right." "That is exactly why you were magnificent," he said. A silence fell between them, comfortable yet charged. Kael's golden eyes held hers, unyielding but tender. Elena realized in that quiet moment that the bond between them was more than trust. It was understanding, admiration, and something dangerously close to longing. The world outside could wait. Here, in the shadows of power, two hearts, one human, one immortal, had begun to recognize each other. Later, in the inner sanctum, Kael consulted with the elders. Their faces were grave, yet their eyes sparkled with recognition. Elena's awakening is not complete, one elder said. But the signs are clear. She is the moonblood of prophecy. One heart of courage, capable of binding humanity and vampires alike. One destined to stand beside the king. Kael's gaze softened as he looked at Elena. The world will test you, he said. And I will be there. Always. Elena's chest tightened. She had gone from humiliation in a restaurant to standing at the heart of prophecy, fighting for lives, and inspiring even the immortal king himself. And for the first time she allowed herself to wonder, not just about destiny or power, but about Kael. About what it meant to share this bond with someone who could have crushed her with a single gesture but instead chose to protect her, respect her, and perhaps, care for her. The slow burn had deepened. Their connection was no longer just survival, it was something far more personal, far more dangerous, and far more irresistible. The palace stood silent under the silver glow of the moon, but Elena knew it was only the calm before the storm. The rogue vampires who had attacked earlier were regrouping, more dangerous, more determined. Tonight it wasn't just a test of her courage, it was a trial of destiny. Kael Draven's golden eyes were fixed on her, sharp and commanding, yet softened with something she could not name. Elena, he said quietly, you are ready? But this will not be easy. There is no room for hesitation. Elena's heart raced, but she nodded. She had spent weeks discovering her strength, her courage, and the power that had been dormant inside her all along. This was the moment it would matter most. The final confrontation. The palace doors burst open with a force that rattled the obsidian walls. Dark, menacing figures poured in, eyes glowing crimson, fangs bared. The rogue vampires were relentless. Kael stepped forward, his presence radiating authority. Every movement was precise, every strike calculated. Yet this time he didn't act alone. Elena stepped beside him, speaking the ancient language with a confidence that stunned even the attackers. Energy pulsed from her hands like moonlight given form, pushing the intruders back. Her pulse quickened as she realized the true extent of her power. The moon blood coursed through her veins, stronger than ever. She could feel it connecting with the palace itself, turning the shadows into shields, the walls into guardians, and Kael's movements into a deadly dance of synchronized force. Together, human and vampire moved as one, strength and courage intertwining, unstoppable. One by one, the rogue vampires fell back, disoriented, unable to face the combination of mortal bravery and immortal power. Finally, the last of the attackers retreated into the night, defeated and humiliated. The palace was safe. For now. Elena fully awakens. Breathless, Elena sank to her knees, the adrenaline fading. Kael knelt beside her, placing a hand over hers. His touch was warm, grounding, and safe. You have done more than I imagined, he said softly. Tonight, you awaken not only your power, but the bond that will shape the future. Elena looked up at him, heart pounding. I couldn't have done it without you. I was afraid, but you believed in me. Kael's expression softened, and for the first time, the King of Shadows allowed his lips to curve in something close to a human smile. Belief is powerful, he murmured. Especially when it is given freely, not demanded. Twin sisters' redemption. In the aftermath, Lily approached cautiously. Her face was pale, guilt etched into every line. Elena. I'm so sorry, she whispered, voice trembling. I didn't understand. I was selfish and I put you in danger. I was wrong. Elena studied her for a moment, the hurt still present but tempered by newfound strength. You were blinded by envy, she said. But everyone can change. Just, make sure you don't repeat it. Lily nodded, tears spilling freely. I'll spend the rest of my life making it right. Kael's golden eyes watched silently. Redemption is possible, he said, echoing the lesson Elena had already embodied. Courage, humility, and kindness are stronger than pride and deception. The moment of slow-burn romance. That night, Elena stood on the palace balcony again, the moonlight reflecting in her eyes. Kael joined her, silent at first. When he spoke, it was quiet, intimate. You've changed everything, he said. The palace, the people, even me. Elena's chest tightened. I was scared, all the time. But with you, I felt safe. Kael reached for her hand, intertwining his fingers with hers. The touch was electrifying yet gentle, grounding yet thrilling. You are more than safe, Elena. You are essential. Not just to me but to the world I protect. And, to me personally. Her breath caught. The distance between them seemed to shrink in the quiet night. No words could fully capture what was growing between them. A trust deeper than any fear, a bond stronger than any power, and a slow-burning love forged in courage, sacrifice, and respect. They didn't need to speak it aloud. The connection was undeniable. Prophecy fulfilled. Later the elders gathered once more. The moon blood has risen, one declared. The bond with the king is complete. She is the one destined to unite the realms, to heal the rift between vampire and human. Kael's hand stayed on Elena's shoulder, steady and protective. Your path is clear, he said. And I will walk it with you. Elena smiled softly. She had gone from humiliation in a restaurant, from being underestimated and overlooked, to standing at the heart of prophecy, alongside the most powerful vampire alive. She had faced fear, discovered her strength, and now, she had found love, trust, and purpose. The night stretched endlessly, peaceful for the first time in centuries. Moonlight bathed them both, a promise of courage, respect, and destiny fulfilled. And in that light, Elena realized, she was no longer the girl everyone underestimated. She was the queen in waiting, the moon blood, and the one who had silenced fear with kindness, bravery, and love.